Nah, that's all good. I got coffee. I won't be rude. Not too rude. Also, it's a small thing, but I just noticed. I hadn't noticed it before. I don't know why you didn't pick up an EVA 8 here. I mean, it's possible that you don't like the weapon, but even if it's a P2020, if you don't have a secondary, you may as well pick it up. Even if it's just in case you run out of ammo, because it's early game, right? So, definitely, you run past an EVA, right? Yeah, you run past the EVA 8 here, you should definitely pick that up. It's a bit of a waste not to have a second weapon, even if you end up swapping it. Now here you take the RE45, it's just weird that you didn't pick it up. And then here, you just heard people below you, somewhere in this this tube area, which is the death zone of Repulsor early game. You didn't actually check under the floor where they are. You can look through these grates and try to figure it out, or use the sound. So you don't know exactly where they are. So once you go for this, this robot here, which is pretty loud, I wouldn't shoot it, I would punch it. It preserves ammo, which is not a big deal, but mainly just because the shooting is way louder and it's very easy to pinpoint which direction it's coming from. So the moment you shoot this robot, you've given away your position without actually getting any value for it. Get a purple armor though, that's pretty awesome. So good start, good loot, and there should be enemies here because you heard them, and there is one there, Pathfinder. Sadly he saw you before you could get a free shot off. Right here, the first main mistake is that you're constantly crouched, and I don't know why. You're already a fish in a barrel, as is this enemy. This is the area that he can be in, and the same for you, obviously. The only pieces of cover in this area are this box, which you can't currently use from your position, and this box, right? These are the pieces of cover in your fight right now. So he has the cover advantage until you move up to the left side here, or the left side here, but preferably on the cover so he can't take a wide angle on you, right? And then if you are out in the open, for whatever reason, if you're forced out in the open to fight, that happens, you want to use strafing, which is moving left to right in an unpredictable pattern. You want to occasionally put a crouch in there to make yourself harder to hit, maybe a slide as well. But you don't want to stay crouched, because it just makes you slower and easier to headshot right here. So luckily he's a potato, because he shoots all the bullets right around you. But a good player will punish you very fast for being crouched for this long. I do like that you're going to the left side here, keeping a small angle on this fight. That is good. Also, you just noticed a common armor on your right here. Take note of that. You've got slightly less than common armor in health right now. You've got about 49, 48, whatever health. So if you take another shot to your armor, especially what I would do, honestly, is great, is baiting enemies by letting your armor break on purpose, is just take this fight with this dude, wait till he breaks the armor, pretend to panic and run, but just pick up this armor, and then as soon as he pushes around this corner, you're already pre-aimed and you shoot him in the face. It's great. So that's definitely make a note of this armor. Early game, knowing where armors are, even if you downgrade from purple to common, is very, very worthwhile, because it's an instant 50 heal, and it's a very good way to bait people into pushing you. And you know, when they break your purple armor, they're going to push you for that thing, right? So it's a very good way to bait. Alright, right here you find a 301 and ammo, which is nice, but the problem is that from this distance where you were, there's no way that you heard where this guy went, right? So pushing forward out into this barrel where you're gonna get murdered, I wouldn't recommend it. It's dangerous. If you'd rotated out via the outside, it would have been much safer, or if you just made sure that he wasn't there first. Because if I were him, I'd be baiting you. Alright, but you decide you don't want this duel, and that's fine, and then I think you take the balloon onto the wall here. Alright, so this is a pretty good spot to be in. You can't get up here unless you have a zipline or you use the balloon that you just used, so you're really safe here from getting attacked, and it's a very good scouting position. You do know that in Repulsor there's still one Pathfinder behind you, so that is something that you have to now keep in mind, because you didn't deal with him. And I do see you turn around and scout here, so good shit. I want to see you, even if you take a fight with these people in front of you, I want to see that you use that information effectively. Right, so you dive straight down. This approach is unnecessary. If we look at the terrain here, you've got this small wall on your left right here, and you've got this building on your right. And once again, you're in this barrel of death, basically. If anybody peeks you now, you're very easy to hit, and the only way to get to cover is to rush over this fence into the building. As soon as you walk forward, then your only cover is this box and this box. It's not really ideal when you could easily go over this side or hook around the right, where it's much safer to approach. try to avoid these kind of obvious low ground positions. Alright, so the Pathfinder that you had to keep in mind behind you actually ended up in front of you because he ballooned straight into the fight. That is very good. Right now I would be going for the high ground immediately. Take top and scout if the Pathfinder is there. If you can control this high ground, you can control this fight, right? Because they can't leave other than straight jumping down, which you will hear when you're above them. There's not really anything they can do to push you easily, so that's very powerful. Sitting on this side here might get you a cheeky ambush kill, but really doesn't give you an effective engage. You're just kind of hoping that they don't notice you here, so definitely wouldn't recommend that. Also, all of this time that you're sitting here, you're not getting any third-party value. You didn't scout whether they're hurting each other, just kind of waiting till you hear shots. So it's nice that he didn't have armor. You got the kill very easily, which is how third-partying works, obviously. But if you don't scout before you shoot and figure out when you want to engage, then you're not sure which of them has taken how much damage, what weapons they're using, what legends they're playing. If you knew that stuff, then you would have been sure that this was free. But who knows, you turn the corner, this guy might be full health because the other guy is a potato. He's playing Wraith, he's got purple armor, he owns you. This kind of stuff happens if you're not sure, because you're just rolling the dice. Alright, and right there, you had the opportunity when you closed the doors to safely scout for this guy through the door or through the window. No need to play passive on solo with full health. Indeed, an approach where they can't hear you can be fine, but just sitting in a corner and hoping that the right person walks into your crosshair is not the right way to do it, I would say. Alright, so through this door and through this window you could scout right now without any chance of being shot at, unless somebody falls from the top, which obviously you should have scouted, like I said before, right? So if you had scouted that, you know that you're safe here. You can look through the glass and just pre-aim him, or see if he goes to loot, because the box is near him. There's no point backing off now. Sure, he can't see you, but that's not in your favor right now. Unless, of course, you take the top, because you know he's inside. But you don't actually end up going for it. Now, this is a better angle if he pushes out. It's a bit safer, but you are out in the open if anybody else shows up here, and, you know, 3 people have been involved in this fight, so it's likely. We also haven't seen the Pathfinder show up or die, I don't think. So it's definitely something I would keep in mind. This feels safe because you don't think he knows where you are, but it's not actually safe because you don't know anything either, so it's just a gamble. What he needs is info. It isn't about passivity. I don't think passivity is a word, but I like it. Yeah, info is definitely something, but the lack of info is definitely because of this playstyle. Now, patience is good. And not making too much sound is definitely very good. Not engaging too quickly, like we saw in the previous VOD, is good, but this is definitely too fast. Right, too slow on the cover usage here, but at least you used it, which is nice. And the free kill, yeah. So you armor swap, got a backpack out of that, pretty good. Now just use the balloon, get out of zone. Wouldn't stay here for too long, by the way, because there might still be more people. You don't know because you didn't scout, right? So it's unlikely with the zone coming in that there's many people coming for this. But after you kill this guy and pick up the armor, the first thing I would do is get out of this loot box and start looking around you. Because right now you don't know if the Pathfinder is still behind you or inside, or if there's anybody that came from maybe water treatment or the cage direction that heard. You know, this fight has been going on for, what is it, 2 minutes now at least? Yeah, about 2 minutes, I'd say. That's a lot of time for people to have shown up to try and third party you. So I wouldn't be sticking my face in a death box for too long without at least looking around me. That's once again a lack of information. Yes. Right, make your way out of zone. You're still damaged right now, so if you see people and they don't see you, I probably would just chase them without going for a fight. And you do see somebody ballooning, but that's way too far away for you to use as information anyway. It's just nice to keep his position on this spine. You can see him right there. Right, so you saw this guy fly in, and for a split second you saw him on this particular block, which I can't tell, I believe is in zone. Yeah, should be in zone. So the only way I would use this information is as you path out of this zone, make sure you're not in obvious line of sight of this guy, so he doesn't see you. That might be a bit dangerous. And in general, avoid this whole open right side. You know, it's safer to go either via high ground or via cover. So use cover around, because this area is very dangerous. There's way too many sidelines on here. It's way too open. Right, So there's a dude here in front of you that I think you're about to shoot because you just aimed at his butt. It's a console thing. I've learned to grab armor, ammo, heals and get out of there. Absolutely. Whether you're on console or PC, although it's much worse on console because you can't strafe when you're looting death boxes. You definitely, if you aren't sure about the safety, you want to make sure that it's safe first. It's never worth dying for loot. Right, but what I was going to say is that we saw somebody balloon onto this high ground, which we were talking about earlier, which means this open area is very dangerous for you, right? So even if you kill this enemy, because you laser him, the zone is about to touch your butt, so you're about to take damage again, and then this guy is going to shoot you when you try to rotate out of zone. So this is going to end up sucking for you if you're unlucky, because you're giving away your position when you know there's a dude here on the high ground. This is why seeing that he flew out of zone and keeping your eyes open for where people are around you is so important, and trying to keep track of where they are. Because you can prevent those quote-unquote unlucky situations, like, oh, I just got unlucky that there was another dude. No, you didn't. You knew that there was a dude there, you just forgot. You just saw somebody else, I hope you guys saw it as well, run right to left on the guy in front of you. Alright, and here, we happened to mention it a lot in the last VOD as well, and this one too. If an enemy doesn't see you, like this guy, you saw him first, so he's not shooting at you, you control the engage. That's a huge disadvantage. That basically turns difficult fights into free kills a lot of the time. So hold your shot and wait for the right moment. That's how you get that value out of this scouting. Running out into the open when you're taking damage to zone, when you know there's somebody still on your left that isn't that with purple armor, and you know there's somebody still on this high ground, this is very risky. It only takes one of them to fuck you up here, so definitely would be more careful with this and wouldn't be holding W out into the open while taking damage from this enemy and from zone. As well as you're healing out in the open as well here, right? So all it takes is one of these enemies to peek over to you and you are dead. Here, same as before, you're in the box for too long. Grab the armor and then get out of it to make sure you're safe first, because you don't have cover. Let's see, honestly, it's safer to just get the armor and heals, or just armor if possible, since people like loot box kills. Yeah, so what I do is I grab the armor, then I go out of the loot box and just look around, and then I go in and pick up other stuff, and I just make sure I'm not in there for too long at a time. Smoke drop would have been useful, absolutely. Is he playing Bangalore? I believe he is, right? Yeah, you are playing Bangalore, so there's a couple moments here, I'll actually go back and talk about it for a second. A couple moments here where smoke would have made a huge difference. Alright, all the way back. Right, if you know you're gonna approach out in the open, even if you couldn't help yourself and you shot, so you gave away your position, a smoke somewhere here on the right gives you a really large area to work with, where only the person up top here can kinda see you. And all these people can't see you. So keep in mind, smoking yourself allows you to stand still for a while, get away with a reload or a heal or something. Smoking in between yourself and the enemy gives you a very large area to work with, since they have to traverse towards your smoke and then traverse your smoke to see you, rather than keeping an eye on the smoke, knowing you're somewhere in there and waiting for you to step out. So smoking this area on the right would have been very effective here to make this rotation safer. Then next up, as you're making it towards the next guy, as soon as you shoot him here and you realize you mess up because you're out in the open, don't be afraid to drop your smoke here. Him shooting back at you will proc your passive so you're fast, and then you can just hook back towards cave, around the res beacon where you have cover, and then back around towards the compound so that you can do a proper approach here. So here once again, the combination of smoke and your passive, because you did aggro him, makes for a very easy rotation from here, where he's more likely to get third-partied by the other people on the left than you are, which is good. Death boxes account for a lot of deaths, it is true, it's definitely true. I did watch this dude on my team wait for a whole team to loot before he fired at them to get a free shot. Yeah, no, I feel you, there's a lot of people that do that. Yeah, okay, I was actually going to mention that thing in a little bit as well. If you go into a death box and you have to replace items that you think are less important or you didn't need in the first place, like ammo types you weren't using, that's a lot of time that you're standing still and being vulnerable, especially if you just killed the person, so you just made a lot of noise. So if you're running around not fighting and you know it's safe, that's when we go into our inventory and drop unimportant stuff on the floor, so that once you then make it to that death box, you can just instantly pick up the 3-4 things you need without having to think about what you need to drop. especially with stuff like having, you know, 3 stacks of heavy ammo on a Spitfire and trying to figure out how much of this do I really want to carry. You don't want to do that while standing still on a box. That's not ideal, and that's where those rotations come in perfect, because you're just running without really doing anything. Right, much better place to heal here. You have some cover. Again, running out in the low ground, out in the open, you've got all of the cover around you, right? A bunch of cover on the left side you can work with, a bunch of cover on the right side you can work with, and you put yourself as a fish in a barrel on the low ground, right? So avoid doing this once again. Right, so this was a good thing. Actually, just remember there's not a fight here, but I wanted to point out the disengage. So there's somebody on high ground, a pathfinder. He obviously has more mobility than you, and the only way you can get on this high ground is via this right side or the back side. And he's sniping at you, so you decide to drop a smoke and dip out. That is very good. I would have probably dropped the smoke in the field here, went around and climbed up to challenge him, because I know one of his 2 weapons is a longbow. So if I push up out of his line of sight, get up in his face and challenge him with the Hemlock R301, I'm at a range that is much stronger for me than for at least one of his weapons. I also have max purple armor, so there's no way I'll be at a health disadvantage. So then it becomes an aim duel that is at least 50% in my favor, right? Don't know what his secondary is, but as long as I don't get into R99 Peacekeeper range, I keep that maybe 20-30 meter range, it's definitely going to be in my favor. That was a useless ult, I think. Yeah, the ult didn't get value, that's for sure. I think it was kind of a panic ulti though. Alright, so you see somebody balloon into airbase there, and I think you're going to end up rotating over to it. Let's see. Yeah, right, so you rotate over to the wall of airbase, you see somebody in Gauntlet here, the new area, and with your loadout you've got 2 ARs, which is not ideal, 2 medium range weapons. This is really the edge of your effective medium range. It's not quite long range, it's not quite sniper range, but especially with the weapons you have, you're probably not going to kill anybody that has cover over here. So any damage you would be doing here is poke damage that should lead to an engage. Otherwise you're just burning ammo, and you don't have that much heavy ammo, so I definitely would be a bit more careful with that. All this time that you're spending shooting here, because you know you're not going to be able to down this guy unless he significantly messes up, the only thing you're doing is making it likely for people to be figuring out how to push you or where you are right now, so that's quite dangerous. You also turn around a little bit when you're reloading. I want to see you look around a bit better, get a better view of where people might be coming from. This whole area is probably pretty clear. By the time you landed and looked around a couple times, you should know if there's people here, unless they're hiding very well. So instead, what I would be looking at is your back here where you came from, right? And the balloon, that's where possible threats of third parties come from. So that's what I want you to be scouting out.
Oh, hello.
And then you would have known that there was a dude coming up on the other wall, which you didn't know, you haven't seen him yet. So there's an enemy with a Peacekeeper. If he's a path, you're probably dead right here, because he can easily grapple onto your wall.
Yes, both at 6, change the responsive.
Random Pathfinder? There's always random Pathfinder.
Classic, rather than steady.
Alright, and then here we go into another spot that is just like before. It's a good spot for ranked if you're trying to go for placements, because nobody will probably find you here. But if people do show up, you are once again cover here, wall here, fish in a barrel on low ground. Right? If somebody shows up here, they control the peak, they kill you. If somebody's on high ground, they control the peak, they kill you. If somebody's behind you, they control the peak, they kill you. So regardless, unless somebody happens to be standing right here in the open, that's the only position here that would be worse than yours. And I've never seen people there outside of the end game. That's actually not true. A game ended there once, but whatever. We'll pretend that isn't true. So this I wouldn't be holding here. I think you end up holding here for quite a while. It's safe, but you're really not going to get anything done. Most importantly, you're not going to have any information about the people around you. And when you have to get out of here, you're going to go out via low ground while having no clue where everybody is. So this is not ideal, I would say. Didn't know that was there. Yeah, there's a lot of spots like that on a map. This in particular is really only good for hiding because you have such a bad approach to everything. And there's this giant wall next to you, but that's alright. Okay, so you ended up hearing people fighting, I think, or walking above you. Either way, you're checking out where they are. Somehow missed that guy sliding, but that's okay. You got really lucky here. You tunnel visioned on the first guy you saw, instantly decided to run in, even though you hear more people shooting. Right now you only know where one of the enemies is, but you heard 2 or 3. So if you've been paying attention to the fact that this is 1 out of 2 enemies, then you wouldn't run in, because you would wait until you know for sure where the next guy is, which is this guy that just yeeted himself off the roof. Now you got super lucky that he jumped down at the exact second that you push in too early. But had he been 0.2 seconds later, he would have seen you run out this corner, he would have had high ground against you, he knows that you're chasing somebody in, like you are 1,000,000% dead here if this was not this freaking lucky. So, you know, as soon as you hear there's multiple opponents, you want to know where they are, even if it's just based on their gunshots, before you push in. You do that cleaning up, which is very nice, you have very low health. I would have gone for a Phoenix instantly, it's a bit of a waste of the cell, but that's alright. Also, I definitely would have gone for the other side of the rock. Anybody chasing that is not on the wall is obviously going to be coming from this side, so you want to be on the other side of the rock where you have cover from there. Let's have a look. And the last people, or at least, there's 3 enemies left, so at least 2 of them are still shooting, appear to be on this building as well. So don't make the same mistake as last time with such a bad approach. While they're distracted with each other, take maybe this roof, or go around and flank them, or take high ground on the right, or get up on this wall. Any good position where you can either get a free third party kill, or can figure out where both of them are. I don't know how he didn't die there, very lucky timing, like I said. It was really lucky. But that is a perfect example of why you don't want to take lucky games to learn from, because it's hard to see your mistakes. Right, good patience there, ends up finding you another kill. This is not the way I would have, this is not the way I would have recommended you do it. But even so, I can point out the value here of waiting for them to walk into you, or waiting to know where they are. The moment you climb, it's laggy. The moment you climb up here and your game goes into low resolution, you don't know where the enemies are, but if they run through, they're likely looking at this low ground. My arrows are garbage today. They're likely looking at this low ground and they're not looking at you, which then gives you the advantage of, you know, you control the engage. They don't see you, so you can choose when to shoot them. And that ends up, even if it's only a tiny high ground like this, being super valuable and leading you to a free kill. So that's really why whenever you hear people fighting, you first want to make sure you know where they are and they don't know where you are. Then use that information effectively. And here you can see how easy the kills are if you do. Right, so you know that there's still somebody else nearby because you heard them shooting, so the fact that you're running out here in the open, assuming this person doesn't have a terrible position, no matter where they are, whether it's on the right, on that ship here, whether they're on top of here, whether they're on the wall or the building you were just fighting in, all of these positions, which are all common positions in this area, are all very strong against where you are. Right, so regardless of where this enemy is, you're not in a good spot. So instead, when you rotate around here to try and figure out where they are, go for high ground. Well, I wouldn't go on the stairs because the zone is here, but go for high ground on the ship, go for high ground on the house, go for high ground on the wall. Anywhere you can go where you can figure out where this enemy is before they know where you are, so that you control the engage and you can get a free kill. Right? Because you know that they're here. Last 2 enemies as well. So if you control this engage, free win of the game, you know? Assuming one of them does not have a mastiff. Because small, low ground, mastiff, not, you know. Good luck with that. Right, so it does end up being on one of those spots, the worst one out of all of them, but still very powerful against you. You end up getting lasered by both of them because once again, you did not know where they were, so you didn't control the engage. One last very small thing to point out, but I'm just pointing it out because I've been seeing it in a lot of VODs lately, and I thought people, especially in solos, this is underestimated. If you know that there's people in this area, and you're going to move around to try and see them, make sure you have your weapon out like you do, which is good, because if you don't have your weapon out, it will take longer to shoot back at them. But not just have your weapon out, stop sprinting. Because when you're sprinting, you're very loud, and all they have to do is stand still, and they can figure out where you are. Right? So if you don't sprint, then you'll probably hear them more easily, and more importantly, they won't hear you. And if you don't sprint, you can also more easily check your corners and quickly ADS if you do end up seeing them. I spent 10 minutes in training. Damn. Right, and here you are correct, you don't use your smoke. Now you were gonna get lasered by that Watson anyway because you did not have cover from that side. And the other guy also had a disruptor, so that was the end of you due to a bad approach no matter what. But indeed, you've only once used your smoke this game. Definitely want to see you using that a bit more. That would have been useful to control that area. And again, if you control the information, you control the engage.